Virginia learns from its mistakes, the show must be paused, and is COVID-19 getting weaker? Hey everyone, Bello Youngfellow here with Millennial Minutes, here to give you a recap of this week's hottest topics in under 5 minutes, hours, days, weeks. I don't know. I'm trying my best here. Cue the intro. On Thursday, June 4th, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam ordered the removal of one of the country's most iconic monuments to the Confederacy, a towering statue of General Robert E. Lee along Richmond's Monument Avenue. The bronze statue will be removed as soon as possible by the state's Department of General Services. During the press conference held on Thursday morning, Governor Northam was accompanied by General Robert E. Lee's descendant, Reverend Robert Lee IV. He spoke during the conference, "A new day is coming, not only for the United States, but for the world. Virginia has more Confederate symbols than any other state and must now fight hate. Racism is a system that touches every person and every aspect of our lives, whether we know it or not." However, this decision is not being taken lightly by some that oppose the governor's actions. The Monument Avenue Preservation Group argued that Governor Northam does not have the authority to take down the monument. In a Facebook post, the group stated, "We are working hard to appeal to the president to step in to stop this recklessness which is bent on destroying our neighborhood, which is a national historic landmark, a cultural treasure, and a place honoring American veterans." I would like to take some time right now and actually challenge this group and ask them, how exactly is their neighborhood being destroyed? They argued that by removing the statues of the Confederates, that their past is being erased. I say that's complete hogwash. When we talk about the South's past, we know exactly what we're talking about. First off, the history of the South and slavery will always be taught in American schools, so the next generation of Americans know exactly what happened all those years ago. Second, why on earth should we even have a statue of the official losers of the Civil War in the first place? Not only were the Southern generals and other war officials racist, but they seceded from the Union, and they lost the war over slavery. By definition, since they seceded, these Confederates were not even real Americans at one point, but enemies of the state. Moreover, there should be no reason why we even have a statue honoring a person who lost the war and is responsible for killing Americans during wartime. There is no other reason that that man and other Confederates have their own statues besides white supremacy. The mayor of Richmond, LeVar Stoney, will introduce a city ordinance on July 1st to have the statue of the general and other Confederate statues removed. Moving on to our next topic, in case some of you didn't notice on your favorite music streaming services, the music industry took a one-day moment of reflection to recognize the anger and frustration from the black community due to the death of George Floyd. The hashtag "The Show Must Be Paused" was created by Jamila Thomas and Brianna Agimang, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and was aimed to get the music industry to pause promotions for 24 hours and instead reflect and talk about what action is needed to collectively support the black community. Jamila and Brianna are both leaders in the music industry and called on their fellow music industry leaders to take a stand with them to recognize the crimes committed against the black community for one day. This day would eventually be called Blackout Tuesday, which was observed on June 2nd, 2020. The two leaders wrote on the Show Must Be Paused website, "The music industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, an industry that has profited predominantly from black art. Our mission is to hold the industry at large, including major corporations and their partners who benefit from the efforts, struggles, and success of black people accountable." The movement was a complete success as companies followed through with a plan to pause and reflect on the events that transpired over the last couple of weeks. Columbia Records issued their own statement on how they wish to reflect. Spotify added an 8-minute 46 seconds of silence to their playlist to honor the death of George Floyd. And Interscope Geffen A&M Records issued a statement saying they would not release any new music this week to observe the movement. Though the movement did raise awareness, it did receive some backlash from music insiders. The main problem some people had was with what does "the show must be paused" actually mean. Joe Steinhardt, who is the owner of Don Giovanni Records and a teacher at Drexel University, commented on the movement, describing it as an ignorant and misguided way to protest, adding that what the label should be doing is supporting the already existing efforts and initiatives that have been active, such as Black Lives Matter. Former SVP of A&R at Island Def Jam, Chris Arnacote, told the Rolling Stone, "This is not a copy and paste, using the same language and/or words that I see on every corporate post over the last few days. In all due respect, but black people and most people who care in your organizations have been disconnected all week from business as usual. So don't placate us with one day. we are pissed off. Some businesses have spoken out and specified actual actions that should be taken. Rolling Stones contributors Samantha Hissong and Ethan Millman wrote, Interscope announced that the company would contribute to organizations that are focused on bailing out protesters, exercising their right to peacefully assemble, and aiding lawyers in the fight for judicial changes, and that it would help nonprofits working toward economic empowerment in the Black community. Capitol Records said it would make a donation to Color of Change, which wants to end practices that unfairly hold Black people back and champion solutions that move us all forward. Where the money is coming from to contribute to these organizations remains a mystery, as many of the major record labels did not provide a full-fledged execution plan to donate to these causes. For more information on how the music industry handled Blackout Tuesday, feel free to read the article I left in the description box. And finally, there's an ongoing debate in Italy centered around the idea that COVID-19 may be getting weaker. This idea has been met with some sharp criticisms, but skeptics are optimistic. Reasons behind the idea of a more milder COVID-19 come from the fact that cases in Italy are starting to either decline or remain steady even as the country continues to reopen its doors. Italian virologist Arnaldo Caruso even went as far as to say that the era of wearing face masks and wearing gloves outside may soon be over. Moreover, Caruso believes that COVID-19 may have been mutating all this time, but coronavirus mutations tend to result in little to no change to the virus genes or behaviors. Max Nissen of Bloomberg writes, viruses change over time, sometimes in significant ways. These mutation-driven shifts are why we need new flu vaccines every year, and why seasonal outbreaks vary. There's also an evolutionary trade-off between deadliness and transmission. A virus that kills too many hosts can't spread, so some become milder. Coronaviruses are slow to mutate compared to influenza, and COVID-19 doesn't appear to be different. Most mutations don't result in any kind of meaningful change to how a virus acts. Early studies of SARS-CoV-2 genomes have found genetic changes, but not a lineage that meets the definition of a new strain, a branch of the virus that's functionally different from others. The argument for a weaker COVID-19 is growing in popularity in the country, but many health experts believe it's a false hope. The chances that the virus does in fact lose its tight grip on humanity right now is probable, but so is the possibility of a second, more deadly outbreak of the virus as well, if we are not too careful. You're probably thinking, well, if the coronavirus isn't getting weaker, why is it that some areas of the world aren't being negatively affected as bad as others? That's a great question, and the answer to that is testing. Testing has been a reliable tool for health experts to correctly identify people infected with the virus, thus giving them the chance to act before symptoms begin to occur, or worse, the person starts to spread the virus. Be that as it may, health experts in Italy still don't have enough evidence to fully support a weaker COVID-19 argument. Alright everybody, that's my show for today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Millennial Minutes, and as always, stay beautiful.